the technologies they don't want you to buy. Stop scrolling. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you why that $600 portable power station you just bought will be worthless in 5 years, while technology from 1886 is still running factories today. This isn't nostalgia. This is physics versus profit margins. Here's what the consumer electronics industry won't tell you. Every time you spend $200 on a smartphone battery replacement, every time you replace your winter coat after 3 seasons, every time you upgrade your revolutionary new gadget, somewhere an engineer dies a little inside. Because they know something you're not supposed to know. There are technologies, proven, tested, documented technologies, that can last 50, 100, sometimes 150 years. Technologies that survive freezing temperatures, tolerate abuse, and keep working when everything else fails. Technologies that would end your consumption cycle forever because you'd only need to buy them once. But they're invisible, not because they're secret, but because their business model is a problem. A problem for manufacturers, for retailers, for an entire industry that depends on you coming back every 3 years. The math is brutally simple. A customer who buys once and stays satisfied for 50 years isn't a customer. That's $12,000 in lost revenue potential over 2 generations. The consumer industry has a fundamental contradiction. It sells you independence while ensuring you never actually achieve it. Real independence destroys their business. Welcome to the blacklist. The invisible industrial agreement. Nobody sits in a room actively plotting to deceive you. That's not necessary. The system runs automatically. It's called planned obsolescence, and it's so deeply embedded in modern manufacturing that most engineers don't even question it anymore. The rule is simple. Products are designed to last 3 to 5 years. Not because of technical limitations, because of accounting calculations. A lithium battery could last 20 years if the chemistry were designed differently. It's not, because then the customer doesn't come back for 20 years. But here's where it gets really brutal. Some technologies are so robustly constructed that they break this system entirely. They survive generations. They need almost no maintenance. They're immune to the most common failure modes. These technologies exist. They work. And they're systematically ignored because nobody wants to market a product that permanently loses the customer. Think about your winter jacket. Maybe $150, maybe $250. After 2 winters, the synthetic insulation compresses. Moisture degrades it. The warmth disappears. You buy new. That's the plan. But there's a material that insulates at -40 degrees Fahrenheit, maintains identical performance after 15 years of use, and completely ignores water. It's existed since the 1930s. You've never heard of it. Why? Because a jacket that lasts 15 years devastates the textile industry's revenue model. That's the blacklist. Not secrecy. Silent neglect. Technology 1. Cast iron, the indestructible kitchen. A foundry in Ohio pours molten iron into sand molds. The resulting cookware will outlive everyone in that factory, their children, and their grandchildren. I'm talking about cast iron. Not the pre-seasoned garbage they sell at department stores today. I mean real cast iron. The kind your great-grandmother used. The kind that's still being used in restaurant kitchens after 80 years of daily abuse. The physics is absurdly simple. Cast iron is just that. Iron with 2 to 4% carbon, poured into a mold. No coatings to flake off. No non-stick chemicals to degrade. No plastic handles to melt. Just iron and carbon in a crystalline structure that's essentially permanent. Heat retention is unmatched. Cast iron has a volumetric heat capacity of about 3.5 J/cm superscript 3K. Compare that to stainless steel at 3.9 J/cm superscript 3K. Similar, but here's the difference. Cast iron is 3 times thicker in most cookware. That mass holds heat like a thermal battery. You sear a steak, the pan doesn't cool down. The meat gets a crust. Perfect. The durability is almost comical. You can drop cast iron from counter height onto concrete. It might crack if you're extremely unlucky, but usually, nothing. Not even a scratch. Try that with your $200 nonstick pan. Scratches don't matter anyway. The cooking surface of cast iron is the seasoning, a polymerized layer of oil bonded to the iron at a molecular level. Scratch it? Just cook with oil again. The seasoning rebuilds itself. It's self-healing cookware. And maintenance? This is where the industry hates cast iron. You don't maintain it. You use it. After cooking, You wipe it out. Maybe rinse with water. Done. No special cleaners, no delicate handling, no degradation over time. In fact, cast iron gets better with use. The seasoning layer builds up, becomes smoother, more non-stick than any Teflon product. But here's the economic problem. A cast iron pan costs $40 to $80. It lasts 100+ years with zero degradation. A family could buy one set and pass it down 3 generations. The non-stick pan industry? They've convinced people to buy new pans every 2 to 3 years. Average cost, $60 to $150. Over 60 years of cooking, that's 20 to 30 pans. Revenue, $1,200 to $4,500 per customer. Cast iron revenue over the same period, $80. Once. The industry solved this by making cast iron seem difficult. It's too heavy. The seasoning is complicated. It rusts if you look at it wrong. All lies. I've been cooking on the same cast iron skillet for 12 years. I've done nothing except cook with it and wipe it out. It's black, smooth, and more non-stick than anything else I own. You won't see cast iron commercials during primetime TV. You won't see celebrity chefs partnering with Lodge for Instagram campaigns. Why? Because cast iron doesn't need marketing. It just needs to exist, and then it exists for a century. That's too long for modern business models. Technology 2. Wool, the fiber that refuses to die. Now we're going to talk about the material that kept humans alive for 10,000 years before petroleum convinced us we needed synthetic fleece. Wool. Specifically, merino wool. The fiber structure is extraordinary. Each strand is covered in microscopic scales that overlap like roof tiles. This creates air pockets, thousands of them, that trap heat while allowing moisture vapor to escape. The thermal regulation is almost intelligent. Wool fibers can absorb up to 30% of their weight in moisture without feeling wet. As they absorb moisture, they release heat through a process called adsorption. This means wool actually warms you up when you start sweating. Synthetic materials? They just get wet and cold. Temperature range is absurd. Quality merino wool keeps you warm at 20 degrees Fahrenheit and comfortable at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The fiber crimp creates loft that traps air when it's cold, but the same structure allows airflow when it's warm. It's a passive climate control system built into the molecular structure. But here's what the outdoor industry doesn't want you to know. Wool doesn't degrade like synthetics. I have a merino wool base layer from 2011. 14 years of use. Hiking, skiing, sleeping in it on winter camping trips. It has no holes, no thin spots, no loss of warmth. I've washed it hundreds of times. It's identical to the day I bought it. Compare that to synthetic fleece. After 2 years of regular use, fleece starts pilling. Those little balls of fiber that form on the surface. Those are the fibers breaking down. After 5 years, you've lost 30 to 40% of the loft. The insulation drops. You get cold. You buy new. And the smell. This is where it gets really interesting. Bacteria cause odor in clothing. They eat your sweat and produce waste compounds. Synthetic fibers have smooth surfaces where bacteria thrive. Wool fibers have a waxy coating called lanolin that's naturally antimicrobial. Bacteria can't establish colonies. I've worn the same merino wool shirt for 4 days straight on backpacking trips. No smell. None. Try that with a polyester shirt. After 1 day, it's a biohazard. The outdoor industry knows this. They've known it for decades. So what did they do? They started blending wool with synthetics, 15% merino, 85% polyester. Why? Because pure wool lasts too long. The blend degrades faster. You replace it sooner. A pure merino wool base layer costs $80 to $120. It lasts 15 to 20 years with normal use. Total cost, $80 to $120. Synthetic base layers cost $30 to $60. They last 3 to 5 years. Over 20 years, you buy 4 to 6 of them. Total cost, $120 to $360. But the industry makes more money on the cheaper product because you keep buying it. The wool doesn't care about profit margins. It just keeps working. Technology 3. Mechanical watches, time without batteries. A watchmaker in Switzerland assembles a pocket watch. No batteries, no circuits, no planned obsolescence. Just gears, springs, and jewels. That watch is still running today, keeping time within a few seconds per day. Mechanical watches are perfect examples of over-engineering for permanence. The principle is simple. A wound spring releases energy slowly through a series of gears. An escapement, a tiny lever system, regulates the energy release. That's it. No electronics. No degradation. No software updates. The materials are chosen for immortality. The movement plates are brass or nickel-silver, alloys that don't corrode. The bearings are synthetic rubies. Why rubies? Because ruby is aluminum oxide with a Mohs hardness of 9. It's nearly as hard as diamond. Steel pivots spinning on ruby bearings create almost zero wear. A well-made mechanical watch loses less than a micron of material per decade from friction. And maintenance? Every 5 to 10 years, you clean it and re-lubricate it. That's it. The same watch, the same movement, running for 100 plus years. There are documented examples of pocket watches from the 1850s that still keep accurate time. Compare this to a quartz watch. Cost, $50 to $200. Battery life, 2 to 3 years. After 10 years, the battery compartment corrodes. After 20 years, replacement parts aren't available. The watch becomes trash. A mechanical watch costs $300 to $1,000 for a quality piece. It runs for 100 years. Over a lifetime, one watch. Quartz watches over the same period? You'd buy 10 to 15 of them. Even at $100 each, that's $1,000 to $1,500. But here's the deeper economics. The watch industry makes massive profits from replacing quartz batteries and selling new watches every few years. Mechanical watches threaten that model. So what happened? The industry marketed mechanical watches as luxury items and complications. They made them seem inaccessible. $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 pieces with unnecessary features. They created a perception that mechanical watches are for collectors, not for normal people who just want something that lasts. But you can buy a Seiko mechanical watch for $300. It'll run for 50 years. That's $6 per year for timekeeping. The industry doesn't want you doing that math. The real cost of what you're buying. Let's calculate what the consumption cycle actually costs you over 40 years of adult life. Kitchen cookware, non-stick replacement cycle. 8 to 12 pans over 40 years at $80 average equals $640 to $960. Cast iron alternative, $200 once equals $200. Savings, $440 to $760. Base layer clothing, synthetic replacement. 10 to 15 pieces over 40 years at $50 average equals $500 to $750. Wool alternative, 3 to 4 pieces at $100 equals $300 to $400. Savings, $200 to $350. Watches, battery-powered replacement. 12 to 20 watches over 40 years at $100 average equals $1,200 to $2,000. Mechanical alternative, 1 to 2 watches at $400 equals $400 to $800. Savings, $800 to $1,200. Total savings, $1,440 to $2,310. But that's just money. The real cost is hidden. Time spent shopping for replacements. Environmental impact of manufacturing 30-plus items instead of 5. Mental load of managing consumption cycles. Storage space for replacement inventory. The subtle stress of planned failure. These technologies don't just save money. They save attention. They save time. They eliminate an entire category of problems from your life. Why you've never heard this before? The answer isn't conspiracy. It's economics. Modern consumer capitalism depends on the replacement cycle. If products lasted 50 years, the economy as currently structured would collapse. Manufacturers need you to buy repeatedly. Retailers need inventory turnover. Advertisers need new products to promote. A product that lasts a lifetime is economically invisible after the first sale. There's no recurring revenue, no upgrade path, no consumables to sell. So these technologies get marginalized. Not banned. That would create backlash. Just quietly ignored. No marketing budgets. No shelf space at major retailers. No influencer partnerships. Cast iron exists, but it's in the back corner of the store. Wool exists, but it's niche and expensive. Mechanical watches exist, but they're complicated and luxury. The products that get promoted are the products that need to be replaced. That's not evil. It's just business. But it's business that costs you thousands of dollars over a lifetime. What you can do right now. This isn't about rejecting modernity. It's about choosing permanence where it makes sense. You don't need to throw away everything you own. But the next time something breaks, before you automatically buy the same type of replacement, ask, is there a version of this that lasts? Often, there is. It costs more upfront. It seems inefficient compared to the cheap option. But over 10, 20, 40 years, it's the only rational choice. The blacklist is real. The technologies work. The savings are mathematically provable. The industry won't tell you this. Why would they? Every permanent product sold is future revenue lost. But you know now. The question is, do you keep buying what's marketed to you, or do you buy what actually lasts? The pan doesn't care. The wool doesn't care. The watch doesn't care. They'll just keep working long after the garbage breaks down. The choice is yours.